There is a power in silence that few can understand. For the chosen one, silence is not a void but a sacred space where God performs his work. It is in silence that great dreams are cultivated, hearts are strengthened, and divine purposes take shape. Silence is an act of reverence, a deep respect for the plan that the Creator is weaving in secret. Remember, the spiritual world is not obvious, nor is it noisy. God works in silence, and his ways are often invisible to human eyes. When you choose to be silent, you allow God to work in you and through you. You make space to hear his voice, that soft and firm voice that is only perceived in the stillness. Socrates, one of the greatest thinkers in history, said that introspection is the key to self-knowledge and true wisdom. Silence leads us inward, to that place where the answers do not come from the world but from the soul. Like a cocoon where caterpillars transform into butterflies, silence is the safe shelter where divine dreams are protected and prepared to bloom at the right time. But how many understand the value of this cocoon? How many respect the process of silence? We live in a world where everyone wants to be heard, where the voices of ego and pride cry out for recognition. However, the chosen ones know that there is a time to speak and a time to be silent. It is in the wisdom of silence that battles are won, that dreams are protected from forces that wish to destroy them before their time. Joseph, before becoming the governor of Egypt, prematurely shared his dreams. His brothers, moved by jealousy, tried to destroy him. The lesson is clear. There are moments when silence is the best answer. There are mysteries that God is revealing only to you, and they should not be shared with those who are not called to understand them. Chosen one, understand this. What God is doing in your life is sacred. Do not expose to the world what is still being formed. Silence is a shield that protects your dreams until they are ready to be revealed. If you trust God's plan, respect the process. Do not rush to speak, do not rush to act. Wisdom lies in recognizing that there are secrets that belong only to God and to you. As the book of Proverbs says, even a fool, when he keeps silent, is considered wise. When he shuts his lips, he is considered understanding. Proverbs 17 verse 28. Therefore, choose silence as an act of faith. Allow God to work in silence, without interference, without distractions. Trust that, at the right time, what is hidden today will be manifested to the glory of the Lord. You do not need to be understood by the world. You do not need to be seen now. The true power is knowing that the divine plan is in motion, even when everything seems quiet. In silence, God is creating. In silence, God is preparing you. Mystery is one of the hallmarks of the chosen one's spiritual journey. It is something that, often, others cannot understand. They look at you, observe your walk, but they do not comprehend the purpose that is being revealed in silence. And that is right, because what God has for you is so deep that he chose to operate in secret, away from curious eyes and voices that could try to lead you astray. The light of truth is not always well received. Think of Plato's allegory of the cave. Those who live in darkness are accustomed to shadows. When someone leaves the cave and sees the light of the sun, they see the world as it truly is, but when they return to tell others, they are rejected, misunderstood, and even ridiculed. What does this allegory teach us? That not everyone is ready to see the truth. Not everyone will understand the journey of a chosen one, because it is unique and sacred. David lived something similar. He was anointed as king in secret. When the prophet Samuel poured oil on his head, he was not immediately taken to the throne. On the contrary, he went back to the field to tend the sheep. To human eyes, nothing had changed, but in the spiritual realm, David was already carrying the calling. The journey of the chosen is like this. The purpose is revealed in silence and in God's time. God works in secret to protect what he is preparing. If David had been revealed as king before the appointed time, he would have been destroyed by his enemies. But God hid David. He kept him in anonymity, training his hands for battle, strengthening his heart to carry the weight of the crown. In the same way, God is operating in your life. The mystery is part of the process. When people don't understand your choices, when they look at you and ask, why does he isolate himself? Why doesn't she share everything? Know that this is a sign you are on the right path. God hides his chosen ones during the time of preparation because the enemy cannot destroy what he cannot yet see. Chosen one, do not fear the hidden. Do not fear silence. The world may not understand your journey, but God knows every step. He is shaping you, strengthening you, and when the time comes, what is now a mystery will become a powerful testimony. Those who despised you, who doubted your worth, who laughed at your faith, will see with their own eyes what God was preparing in silence. Just as David was revealed at the perfect time, you will be placed in a position of honor at the right moment. God is a God of mystery, but He is also a God of revelation. While the world does not see, heaven is working. Your obedience to remain hidden, to trust the process, is what is accelerating the divine work in your life. Chosen one, what God has for you is too great to be revealed outside of time. Trust the mystery, embrace the hidden journey, and know that God is guarding your purpose until it is ready to shine. Chosen one, words carry power. They are more than sounds. They are spiritual seeds that can create life or open doors to destruction. In the spiritual journey, there are treasures that God deposits in your heart, dreams, visions, and promises that must be guarded like precious jewels. Not everyone can have access to them because not everyone vibrates on the same spiritual frequency as you. Have you noticed that some people, when they hear your plans or victories, react with coldness, doubt, or even envy? Sometimes it is not necessary for them to say a negative word. The energy they carry is enough to cast a shadow on what God is building. This happens because the chosen ones walk on a different spiritual level, and those who do not share the same faith cannot withstand the light that you carry. Think of a vault. Rare jewels are not left on display. They are kept with care, protected from curious eyes and greedy hands. In the same way, the dreams and promises God has given you must be treated with diligence. It is not about hiding out of fear, but about discerning who has access to your heart and your words. Jesus teaches us this principle. When He was about to perform miracles or reveal spiritual secrets, He carefully selected those who could be present. In one of the most powerful passages, when He resurrected Jairus' daughter, He ordered everyone to leave, taking only Peter, James, and John, those who were aligned with His mission and faith. This shows us that the environment and the people around us carry a frequency that can either support or interfere with God's movement. Ask yourself, who is around me? The people with whom you share your dreams, do they celebrate your victories or bring doubt? Do they elevate you spiritually or pull you into unbelief? The chosen one must learn to discern who is on the same frequency of faith and purpose. The truth is that not everyone is prepared to hear what God is doing in your life. When Joseph shared his dreams with his brothers, they did not celebrate. On the contrary, jealousy overtook them and they tried to destroy him. The lesson is clear. There are moments when silence is the greatest protection for the treasures God has entrusted to you. Chosen one, guard what is precious. Speak less, pray more. Before sharing something, ask yourself, does this person carry enough faith to walk with me? Do not let negative words or wrong energies contaminate the plans God is preparing in your life. Remember, what is aligned with heaven is often opposed on earth. Protect yourself. Speak only what is necessary, and keep your dreams secure in the vault of prayer. As it is written, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Proverbs 4 verse 23. You do not need the approval of others. You do not need the validation of the world. What God has promised you is safe in His hands, and in His perfect timing, He will manifest His glory through your life. Chosen one, stay in a frequency of faith, prayer, and discernment. Not everyone can follow your calling, but this is no reason to stop. God is protecting you in what He has promised. It is up to you to do the same. Chosen one, the dreams and visions God plants in your heart are not random. They are sacred seeds, divine gifts that carry the purpose for which you were called. Each dream, each revelation, each inspiration is part of the plan God designed before you were even born. That's why these dreams need to be protected and preserved, for the spiritual world sees them before they manifest. Did you know that dreams carry such great spiritual weight that, when revealed out of time, they can attract resistance and opposition? The story of Joseph is a perfect example of this. Joseph was just a young man when God began giving him dreams. He saw the purpose before anyone else. Moved by innocence, he shared these dreams with his brothers, but instead of celebrating, they hated him. Jealousy was stirred and they tried to destroy him. And his brothers said to him, "Here comes that dreamer. Come now, let us kill him and throw him into one of these pits, and we shall say, 'A wild beast has devoured him,' and we shall see what will become of his dreams." Genesis 37 verses 19 to 20. See the depth of these words. We shall see what will become of his dreams. The enemy does not fear you, he fears what you carry. He knows that if the dreams God has placed in your heart come to pass, they will bring freedom, healing, and purpose to you and many others. Therefore, chosen one, be careful. Reveal your dreams only to those who have enough faith to protect them in prayer. Do not seek human applause to validate what God has already confirmed in your spirit. There are people who cannot see what God is doing in your life because they were not called to walk in the same vision as you. Dreams are like delicate seeds. Imagine a farmer who, after planting a seed in the soil, keeps digging the ground to show others what he has planted. The seed, exposed too early, loses its strength and may even die. The same is true for dreams when shared prematurely. They need silence, time, and prayer to grow and flourish. There is a time for everything, as the word says, to everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under heaven. Ecclesiastes 3 verse 1. Wisdom is understanding that some dreams must be protected until they are ready to be revealed. In the meantime, you must care for them with faith, nurturing them with prayer and discernment. Chosen one, ask yourself, why do you want to share your dreams? Are you seeking validation, or do you trust in God's silent care? There is a difference between sharing a purpose with people of faith and exposing what God is building in secret. Remember that the chosen ones face resistance because their dreams disturb those who live in mediocrity. Your visions reveal the potential that others lack the courage to pursue. Your light, even in its most discreet form, can awaken envy. Therefore, stay silent. Preserve what God has given you. Do not let words of doubt or disbelief touch the seed He has planted in you. Just like Joseph, your journey may go through the pit, but in God's perfect timing, the dream will come to pass. And when that happens, the world will see that what seemed impossible was just the fulfillment of God's divine plan. Your victory will be a testimony that God's dreams never fail. Chosen one, take care of what God has entrusted to you. Your dreams are sacred, and at the right time, they will not only come true but will glorify the name of the Lord. Chosen one, there is a type of solitude that is sacred. Many fear it, but few understand its true purpose. Divine solitude is not abandonment, it is separation. It is the time when God calls you away from the crowd, away from distractions, to work deeply within your spirit. It is in the silence of solitude that He forges character, molds faith, and strengthens your soul for what is to come. Great leaders, great prophets, and great chosen ones had to pass through the desert of solitude before fulfilling their missions. Look at Moses' story. Before becoming the liberator of Israel, he spent 40 years in the desert of Midian, tending sheep, far from the palace and the limelight of Egypt. That isolation was not a punishment, but a preparation. It was there, in the silence of the desert, that Moses learned to hear the voice of God. The same happened with Jesus. Before starting his ministry, he was led into the desert, where he stayed for 40 days and 40 nights fasting and praying. It was a period of solitude and testing. That time was not empty, it was sacred. It was the preparation for him to fulfill the most important plan in the history of humanity. And with David, it was no different. Anointed as king while still a young shepherd, David spent years in isolation, fleeing and hiding in caves. Imagine what went through his mind. If God chose me, why am I here? Why am I alone, being persecuted and rejected? Little did David know that this time of solitude was shaping him into the heart of a king. The caves were God's school, where David learned to trust the Lord above all. Chosen one, you too are going through this process. Perhaps you feel alone, as if no one understands your journey, as if the whole world is distant from you. But know that the solitude you are facing has a purpose. God has set you apart not to abandon you, but to prepare you. In solitude, God's voice becomes clearer. It is there that He whispers secrets into your heart, secrets that the crowd could never understand. It is there that you learn to depend solely on Him, without the need for approval or validation from others. Divine solitude is a place where you are strengthened to bear the weight of the mission that is to come. Chosen one, do not fear this isolation. Many give up because they confuse solitude with rejection, but the chosen ones understand that being set apart is a sign of preparation. God is pulling you away from voices that could distract you, from influences that could mislead you, and from people who are not prepared to walk with you. Think of this. When an archer pulls the arrow back, it seems as if it is going in the opposite direction of the target. But in reality, the further he pulls it back, the more force it will have to reach its destination. Solitude is that moment when God is pulling you back so that, at the right time, you will be launched with force and precision to fulfill the purpose He has prepared. So use this time of isolation to grow. Strengthen your faith, deepen your prayer, and silence the doubts. Trust the process. God is preparing you in secret, far from the eyes of the world. because what he has for you is too great to be revealed before its time. When the period of solitude ends, you will not be the same. You will be stronger, wiser, more prepared. You will be like Moses, like David, like Jesus, someone who was set apart for something extraordinary. Chosen one, embrace divine solitude. It is in this place that you will find the strength you need to fulfill your calling. And when God reveals you, the world will see that every moment of isolation was necessary. Because God does not waste pain nor silence. He uses everything for His glory. Chosen one of the greatest tests of faith is learning to wait. God's timing is not our timing. While you wish for everything to happen now, He works in silence, shaping every detail of the promise that is to come. But here is the truth: everything that is rushed loses its value. Just like fruits picked too early are bitter, blessings received out of time can be a burden instead of a reward. God is a God of order, and He is never late. Every season of your life has a purpose, even if you cannot see it right now. There is a time to plant and a time to reap, a time for preparation and a time for revelation. Waiting is difficult, but it is necessary because it is in the waiting that God perfects in you what will be needed when the promise is fulfilled. Think of Jesus, the Son of God, perfect and without sin, waited for the exact moment to begin His ministry. He was 12 years old when He impressed the teachers in the temple with His wisdom, but He still returned home and remained in silence until He was 30. Why? Because His hour had not yet come. In several passages in the New Testament, we see Jesus saying, "My time has not yet come," John 7 verse 6. Even though He was the Messiah, He respected the time established by the Father. He did not rush the plan. He knew the purpose was greater than the rush. And when the time came, no one could stop the fulfillment of His mission. Chosen one, how many times have you asked yourself, why is it taking so long? Why isn't God acting now? Maybe you look at others and think they are progressing faster while you remain in the same place. But know this: what God is preparing for you requires a solid foundation, and solid foundations are not built quickly. Imagine a house. The larger it is, the deeper its foundation must be. A building rushed through will not withstand the storms. In the same way, God is building something in your life that will not be shaken by adversities. He is working in silence, removing what does not serve you, strengthening what needs to be unshakable, and preparing the stage for His promise to manifest. Look at the life of Abraham. God promised him a descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky, but Abraham waited years before seeing the promise fulfilled with the birth of Isaac. The delay might have seemed like an endless silence, but every second was part of the divine plan. The waiting time strengthened Abraham's faith and paved the way for something extraordinary. Chosen one, do not let anxiety make you compromise what God is doing. Do not try to rush the process. Do not seek shortcuts. Everything that comes outside of God's timing will unravel quickly, but what comes in His time will last forever. Remember the words of the psalmist, "I waited patiently for the Lord, and He inclined to me and heard my cry." Psalm 40 verse 1. Waiting may seem like wasted time, but for the chosen ones, it is a time of preparation, trust, and alignment with heaven. While you wait, God is teaching you. He is preparing you so that, when the promise arrives, you will be ready to carry it with wisdom and humility. Many receive blessings and lose them because they were not prepared to sustain them. But not you. You are chosen. You are being trained for something greater than you can imagine. Chosen one, do not look at the world's clock. Look at God's timing. Trust Him even when the process seems slow. Because at the right time He will reveal His promise and everything will make sense. You will see that the wait was not a delay but a time of building. When God's time arrives, the doors will open and no one will be able to close them. When God's time arrives, you will be lifted up in honor, and all will see that it was the hand of the Lord that did this. So rest, wait, trust, for He who promised is faithful to fulfill. Chosen one, prayer is the secret of those who walk closely with God. It is not just an act of speaking, but a place where dreams are protected, promises are confirmed, and the Spirit finds strength to continue. It is in the silence of prayer that you guard the treasures God has entrusted to you, away from the eyes of the world and the voices of doubt that try to rise. Jesus, our greatest example, taught us about the importance of praying in secret. He said, "But you, when you pray, go into your room, and when you have shut your door, pray to your Father who is in the secret place, and your Father who sees in secret will reward you openly." Matthew 6 verse 6. See the depth of this teaching. The secret place is where the spiritual battle is fought and won. It is where you present your dreams, your pains, your doubts, and surrender everything into God's hands without anyone's interference. Chosen one, not everything should be spoken to men. Often, we seek advice and validation from people who cannot understand what God is doing in us. Words thrown into the wind can be distorted, but what is entrusted to God in prayer remains secure. Therefore, silent prayer is like a spiritual vault. It is the place where you store what is sacred, what is still being formed. Think of Nehemiah when he decided to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem. He didn't go around announcing his plans to everyone. On the contrary, he acted in silence, with wisdom and prayer, waiting for the right moment to act. And I told no one what my God had put in my heart to do at Jerusalem. Nehemiah 2 verse 12. Nehemiah knew that secrecy was part of the strategy. Before telling the world, he told God. How many times have you shared something with someone and felt the weight of doubt being cast upon you? How many times have negative words tried to smother the dreams God had planted in your heart? This happens because not everyone vibrates on the same frequency of faith that you do. Silent prayer protects you from this. It connects you directly with heaven without intermediaries, without noise. Chosen one, God sees what you pray in secret. He sees the tears you shed when no one is watching. He hears the whispers of your heart and knows the dreams you are still too afraid to speak aloud. When you pray in secret, you invite the supernatural to act in your life. It is in prayer that battles are won even before you step onto the battlefield. Remember, Jesus, before performing great miracles, sought the silence of prayer. Before facing the cross, he went to the Mount of Olives alone and prayed. Prayer was what strengthened his spirit to fulfill the mission the Father had entrusted to him. Chosen one, make silent prayer your refuge. Before sharing your dreams, pray. Before making an important decision, pray. Before speaking to anyone, speak to God. Prayer not only protects your dreams, but also brings discernment about the timing and the people you should walk with. The world may not understand the power of silent prayer, but those who know the voice of God understand that it is there, in the secret place, where miracles begin. The reward will come at the right time, and all will see what God has done in you and through you. So, chosen one, keep your dreams in the vault of prayer. Do not allow words of doubt or the world's haste to interfere with the process. God is listening, God is acting, and at the right time he will reward you publicly. Chosen one, not everyone can walk by your side. Not everyone is prepared to hear, understand, or protect what God has planted in your heart. There is divine wisdom in discerning who can have access to your dreams, your life, and your battles. The right choice of a circle of trust is one of the greatest protections for your purpose. Jesus gave us the perfect example. During his ministry, he walked with many, but he shared the deepest mysteries only with his closest disciples. When he performed miracles or withdrew to pray, he carefully selected who could be present. And he permitted no one to follow him except Peter, James, and John, the brother of James. Mark 5 verse 37. Jesus knew that the faith of his chosen ones would sustain the spiritual environment necessary for the miracle. Who do you let into your circle of trust? Who are the people with whom you share your dreams and challenges? The chosen one needs to have discernment, for often the closest people may be the ones who, even without intention, weaken your faith and plant seeds of doubt. There are those who, upon hearing what God is doing in your life, cannot rejoice. They do not have the spiritual capacity to celebrate your victories or believe in the promise you carry. As it is written, you will know them by their fruits. Matthew 7 verse 20. Observe the fruits of the people around you. Do they have faith or do they live in unbelief? Do they celebrate your victory or silently compete with you? Look at the story of Jesus once again. Even among the 12 disciples there was Judas. He was close, but his heart was not aligned with Christ's purpose. Judas represents those who have access to your life but do not keep your secrets. People like these can, consciously or unconsciously, open doors to opposition and words of destruction. Chosen one, God is teaching you to be selective. This does not mean being distrustful of everyone or living in isolation, but understanding that not everyone is prepared to walk with you. Not everyone shares the same faith. Not everyone can see what you see. And that is okay because your journey is unique and sacred. Learn to trust only those who show fruits of faith, loyalty, and purpose. Those who, when you share a dream or a promise, pray with you instead of questioning. Those who raise their hands to intercede instead of folding them in doubt or envy. Chosen one, Observe who celebrates your small victories, who stays by your side in difficult days, and who speaks life into your dreams. People like that are sent by God to sustain your walk. They are like Aaron and Hur, who held Moses' arms up during the battle so that God's people could win. Exodus 17 verse 12. Now ask yourself, who is around me? Who are those truly aligned with my calling? God is calling you to a higher level of discernment. If you want to protect the promise you carry, you need to learn to close the doors to those who are not prepared to access it. Chosen one, take care of your circle of trust. Guard your dreams and battles like a precious treasure. God will place the right people by your side at the right time, but it is up to you to discern who has truly been sent by Him. Remember, the circle you choose can either strengthen your faith or weaken your purpose. Be wise. Choose those who carry the same flame of faith as you, because your journey is too sacred to be shared with those who do not understand your value. Chosen one, discretion is an invisible armor, a protective wall around your purpose. In a world where everyone rushes to expose their lives, those who walk with God understand that there are secrets that must be kept. When you share too much, you open doors not only for words of doubt but also for envy and opposing spiritual forces. Not everyone is happy with your journey. Not everyone celebrates what God is building in you. Envy is real, and it operates in the spiritual realm like a shadow, trying to extinguish the brightness you carry. That is why silence and discretion become your greatest weapons. The enemy cannot destroy what he cannot see. Nehemiah is a powerful example of this truth. When he received the mission to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem, he acted with wisdom. And I told no one what my God had put in my heart to do at Jerusalem. Nehemiah 2 verse 12. Nehemiah knew that exposing his plans before the time could attract opposition and sabotage. He acted in silence, worked with prudence, and revealed his purpose only when it was impossible to stop him. This is a lesson for you, chosen one. There is a time to speak and a time to be silent. When you share prematurely what God is doing, you give the enemy a chance to launch attacks that could have been avoided. How many times have you seen plans frustrated because they were shared with the wrong people? How many times have promising dreams been stifled by disbelief or envy from others? Look at Joseph once more. When he shared his dreams with his brothers, what he received in return were not words of encouragement but hatred and jealousy. His own brothers sold him as a slave. But observe, even opposition could not stop God's plan in his life. The dream came true, but Joseph had to go through a painful process to learn the wisdom of silence. Chosen one, learn from these examples. Do not expose your plans, your dreams, and your battles to just anyone. Silence is a way to protect what is sacred. It is a demonstration of trust in God's plan. Because when you choose to remain silent, you are saying, Lord, I trust that you will reveal everything at the right time. Envy has no power over you, but it can be a distraction. Negative words can plant seeds of doubt. Opposition can come disguised as well-meaning advice, but deep down, it questions what God has already confirmed in your heart. That is why be discreet. Be prudent. Just like a tree grows in silence, its roots going deep into the soil, away from everyone's eyes, so is God's purpose in your life. No one sees the growth of the roots, but when the tree emerges, it is strong enough to withstand winds and storms. Your promise is growing in secret, and at the right time, it will be revealed with such strength that nothing will be able to topple it. Chosen one, protect what God has given you. Do not allow haste or the need to be seen to compromise what is being built. As the word says, he who guards his mouth preserves his life, but he who opens wide his lips shall have destruction. Proverbs 13 verse 3. Silence is not weakness, it is strategy. It is a demonstration of faith and trust in the God who sees all and acts at the perfect time. When the promise is fulfilled, there will be no doubt that it was the hand of God. What is hidden in silence today will be revealed for the glory of the Lord. And those who doubted, envied, and tried to stop you, will see with their own eyes what God has done. Chosen one, silence your voice but increase your faith. Protect your purpose with discretion and allow God at the right time to reveal what He is preparing in secret. Chosen one, silence is more than just an attitude, it is an act of faith. Remaining silent while God works is one of the greatest demonstrations of trust in His plan. It is telling the world and the enemy, I don't need to prove anything to anyone because I know that God is working for me. Silence is a powerful spiritual strategy. While many act hastily, exposing their plans and fighting for recognition, Those who walk with God understand that silence is an invisible shield. It protects their promises, guards their dreams, and confuses the forces that rise up against them. Look at the example of Joshua and the people of Israel in the fall of the walls of Jericho. God gave them a specific command: they should march around the city in silence for 6 days. It wasn't just any silence, it was a divine strategy. While the enemies observed and tried to understand what was happening, the Israelites obeyed in silence, keeping their focus and faith in what God had said. On the 7th day, when the trumpet sounded and the shout was made, the walls of Jericho fell. The victory was supernatural. But see the lesson: silence preceded the miracle. If they had shouted before the time or broken the order, the victory could have been compromised. This is how it is with you, chosen one. There is a time to be silent and a time to speak, and knowing the difference is key to your victory. Silence is also a powerful tool against the enemy. When you remain silent, he cannot use your words against you. When you choose to act in silence, he becomes confused, not knowing what your next steps will be. That is why silence becomes a shield, a barrier that protects you while God fights for you. Think of Jesus during the crucifixion. When accused, he remained silent before Pilate. He did not need to justify himself, because he knew that God's purpose was being fulfilled. His silence was an act of authority and absolute trust in the Father's plan. Sometimes, silence is the most powerful response you can give to the voices of doubt, opposition, and fear. Chosen one, silence is also a way to align with God's timing. When you decide not to act on impulse, when you choose not to speak out of time, you are saying, "I trust that God is in control." This is not weakness, it is wisdom. As it is written, "The Lord will fight for you, and you shall hold your peace." Exodus 14 verse 14. When the people of Israel were facing the Red Sea, silence did not mean inactivity. It meant trust. While they were silent, God parted the sea and defeated their enemies. It will be the same with you. When you choose to remain silent and place everything in God's hands, He works on your behalf. Chosen one, understand that silence is not wasted time. It is a time of strategy, faith, and preparation. Every day that you remain firm, undeterred by the opinions of others, undistracted by haste, is a day that God is building your victory. If you are in the middle of the battle, choose silence as your weapon. Pray in secret, trust God's timing, and move forward in faith. When the time comes, the world will see what God has done. Your silence will be replaced by praise, and your victory will be undeniable. God will reveal at the right time what He is preparing for His glory. And when that happens, all will know that it was the Lord who did it. Chosen one, silence is your shield and your strategy. Use it wisely. Trust, wait, and watch as God does the impossible in your life.